back to Sports Recovery with me, Aradhi and Rishi, and another Euros podcast underway. And this time we're discussing the best three wide forwards that we've got at Euro 2024. Of course, there are so many talented players. We've got a host of youngsters as well this time. And it's quite exciting to discuss this because there's so many ways you can go about it. We don't have but we're not looking at any metric because I think you can have different players for different metrics, but just the top three forwards for you guys, we'll discuss them and we'll try to place them based on however we sort of decide through going through the episode. So yeah, Rishi, first, any exciting wingers that you've already said, okay, you know what, this guy has to be in this list?
If you're counting, wide forwards who've pretty much started as a wide forward for their nation, also I feel Jamal Musiala, receives a fair shout. His close touches, his agility, his in the box, how much space he creates for himself, and how he hits the ball. I think he's the top scorer of the Euros also. Although it's 2 games and 2 goals, the fact that he's one of the youngest players in the Euros itself, and he's one of the main talisman for Germany also. All this I feel gives him a really good shout for. If not a winger, he's definitely one of those who operates down the wings, at least for their national team. So I feel Jamal Musiala deserves a fair shout.
Okay, fair. Already Jamal Musiala in the mix. For me, I just want to throw Bukayo Saka in there as well because he's always good for England. He has had a good season again with Arsenal. And even in the first game for England, it was his cross that led to Bellingham's goal. So yeah, I think just all in all, Saka is one that is always going to be there. And I think it's kind of almost impossible to not mention him in these sort of conversations. So Bukayo Saka is one that I'm throwing. Are there any players that you would like to throw straight off the bat?
For me, this Euros and this season especially, when we talk about first of all wingers, I think a lot of wingers, in Europe, you don't find many good, great wingers who are consistent. So it's actually very tough to talk about wingers or wide forwards. But for me, this season, apart from the two you guys have said, I would put in Lamine Yamal because him only being a 17-year-old, being the main right winger for Barcelona in the second half of the season, especially playing all the big games and moving that into the Spain setup where in the national side also he carried the game. In the first game, had a very, very good game against Croatia, got an assist also and created a lot of trouble, in terms of for Spain, created a lot of chances and created a lot of trouble for Croatia. Guardiola was struggling to keep up with him. He was twisting him left and right. So Guardiola turned his back left, right. He was not able to even defend against Lamine Yamal. And this coming from a 17-year-old, a guy who needs to be studying right now for his board exams. I was studying for board exams during my 17-year-old. So he's here, so-called destroying one of the best left backs in the world. So in terms of that, obviously, I think Lamine Yamal has to be there.
Yeah, I think all these three players, there's not much we can argue against them. So let's just keep them there. Musiala, Bukayo Saka and Lamine Yamal. Yamal again, like I can't believe it. 16-year-old tearing it up for Barcelona. So is he at the Euros. Let's just talk about others as well. Rishi, any other white forwards again that you think deserve to be in this conversation?
I mean, sure, yeah. A lot of players deserve a fair shout. Like you see Florian Wirtz, Bernardo Silva, Rafael Leao can also be mentioned. Although he's not had a great previous season, he's been in and around the conversation for a while. So,
but have you seen
Rafael Leao has never been in the conversation for any winger position. Like you can't.
If you guys not a winger, he can be considered as a wide forward. So I'm just giving a shout.
But we're talking about top players. Like
but Rafael Leao is like, bro, like
nowhere near the level. He barely scored any goals in Serie A this season.
And he doesn't do anything.
Exactly. This season he's not been that great.
That his entire career, he hasn't been great. Like he hasn't had a career where he's had a great career.
Bro, he scored 4 goals for Portugal till date.
And in how many starts?
28 caps.
Okay, fair enough.
Bukayo Saka, again, to give you context, as a winger, he scored 11 goals in 34 caps.
Musiala scored half of it in 2 games, by the way.
See, you can take someone like Phil Foden who wouldn't have scored more than 5 goals for England.
No, but Rafael Leao is there to be that player, right? I think he's there to be that goal scorer, especially when...
Not really. In a Portugal team, where Ronaldo plays, I think pretty much he is the source of goal. I think your team is built around him. So I don't think it's fair to say that he is there for goals.
Okay,
Like,
let me put it into context, okay? If you want to talk
uh,
about a winger, Pedro Neto, who's actually a better winger than
yeah,
Rafael
fair.
Leao is.
I really feel Pedro Neto is
Just
a
take the
really good winger.
context of the Portugal game, the first game, he played around 70 odd minutes. He created nothing, lost the ball a lot of times, doesn't come back to defend, doesn't create any chances, can't
Yeah, and
dribble
his
a man.
attitude is so.
And his attitude is very lazy.
Yeah.
He's done nothing great, and this is throughout his career. Even in AC Milan, he's the same issue. You know, a player who maximum right now is linked to his best is linked to, you know, teams like Saudi Arabia. That's where his career is going towards. He has never had a great season. Also, in terms of Portugal itself, like he's only starting because I actually don't know why he starts. He's starting maybe because of favoritism, etc. But if you want to put into context, that game itself, Pedro Neto within the 5 minutes, literally within 180 seconds, he created a dangerous chance. They scored from it.
Yeah.
I saw more intent and more, chance created from a winger of Pedro Neto, who actually is miles ahead. He's also a guy who performs well in the Premier League and has done that consistently, even though he has his own injury woes. Like Rafael Leao can, as a winger, he's not even top 20 in the world. Like you can't even consider him
Yeah,
near
yes, same. I think he's one of the
standards
most.
and the talent of wingers we have right now. Like we are talking about a different league. I feel like players like, even if you want to talk like Dembele, Kingsley Coman are ahead of Rafael Leao in terms of everything. Like
how are you guys saying Dembele has had
I think Dembele is ahead of him as well. Even I think
did you
Dembele
see
is
the performance he had against
No. I'm not comparing them. I'm saying I'm not comparing them, but Dembele, his only remarkable performance in the entirety of last season. I don't watch a lot of PSG games. I read a lot of GFFN or whatever. He has always underdelivered, or he's always been disappointing for PSG. The complaint is that his output is not there. He's just holding the ball on the wings. He's not releasing it enough. He's not linking up enough. He's not being an attacking threat for PSG majority of his previous season, and his only highlight has come in one leg against Barcelona. So how are you mentioning Dembele in this conversation?
Dude, I think no, Dembele. I don't think Dembele cracks it into the
Dembele,
top
I'm telling, is ahead of Rafael Leao. That's all I'm trying to say. It's not about he's a top winger. That's why I said players like Dembele and Coman have a better shout and ahead of players like Leao, because again, like if you want to talk about Dembele, it's not one season. He was a star since his first season in Dortmund, and he's still a very great talent. Maybe he's never had that output towards his entire career, etc. But talent-wise and what he's done in his career is still ahead of what Leao does. And Dembele again.
Bro, I honestly think Dembele.
Bro, Dembele is Dembele is not someone who's come like 2 years ago or something. He's been in and around for a while. He's never had
performed well in a lot of games. Rishi, you can't say Dembele
there's a 2-year gap between them. Leao is 25 and Dembele is 27.
Exactly.
It's not massive.
Plus, Leao also has been there for a long time. He played in teams like Lille before. It's not that he's suddenly popped out in AC Milan. Even in AC Milan, first 2 seasons he had very poor. He did nothing. Only the one season where this won the Serie A title is where he had a decent season. Apart from that, like again, he hasn't done much over his career. And again, I'm talking about skill set level. What players have done. Like again, we can talk about players like Kingsley Coman, who literally won a lot of league titles, UCLs, and is actually a very, very great winger and a very underrated winger. Unfortunately for him and his career, down the drain through, injuries, etc. But like you talk about a player and a talent like Coman, they're all ahead of him. Even we're not even talking about people like Sane, who's again a great winger, etc. There's so many wingers who are ahead of Leao.
Dude, he came on and he was. I feel both the games he came on and he was probably the worst player for Germany. Like,
same goes to Rafael Leao. So how can we even think about Leao being in the conversation? And again, Sane, we are talking about him in my entire career-wise. Sane has been a great player over his entire career. I mean, again, we talk about performances in Bundesliga. He still performs decently well enough for them. You can say he's become bad maybe through certain injury issues, whatever it is. But again, we're talking about top wingers here. We're not talking about like.
Let's move on from these guys. I think, of course, Leao, Dembele, all of these guys I don't think would cut into the top 3. But where does somebody like a Bernardo Silva or like a few older guys like Bernardo Silva or even somebody like a Xherdan Shaqiri stand in this list for you guys?
Bro, I don't think it's fair to put these two in the same category of older guys. I think Bernardo has a lot more to offer.
Okay, fine.
Than
let's say older
at the
guys
top
and let's say Shaqiri.
Just because you and your Swiss favoritism.
No, but I mean, he has actually, to be fair, Shaqiri, whenever I've seen him play for Switzerland, has done very well. Of course, I don't watch him for his club.
It's almost as if the Euros are incomplete without a Shaqiri wonder goal.
See, we're only adding Shaqiri to this conversation because Rahul supports Switzerland.
Yeah, I swear.
We can't be talking about him right now also. Like, bro, Shaqiri playing in MLS.
Bro, just for Switzerland, Shaqiri 32 goals and 34 assists, and he has over 100 caps. So he's got the numbers, and he's always delivered for Switzerland. To be fair to him,
that's true. But again, I feel Bernardo, from not just a national side perspective, more like I feel he still has more to offer from a winger position, from a midfielder position, from a false nine, whatever it is. I feel Bernardo has a lot more to offer for their national team and the club career, like respective club, than Shaqiri. I don't think it's fair to put them in the same conversations, but I feel Bernardo also deserves a really good shout for, I think whenever you talk about Bernardo, it's almost as if it's like Pep's brain is playing for City. Like whenever he plays, it's almost as if Pep could mold a player of that intelligence. That's like, I like whenever you watch, it's either Gundogan for like the majority of the City's brilliant performances, how they operate, it's either been Bernardo Silva or been Gundogan. Like you are like in between games itself, you've seen him play a number of positions like right wing. Then he slots into midfield, and half a season where they didn't really have a striker, it was Bernardo and Foden rotating for that false nine position. So I feel Bernardo, with his intelligence, with how much more he has to offer, I feel also deserves a really good shout for one of the best wingers in the world right now.
Adi, I think the issue with Bernardo only comes to his performances of Portugal at the highest level. Euros, World Cup.
That's because he is not in a very easy system of Pep's Guardiola's system. You have to take into that also.
Yeah. And
because the reason he's never performed well,
dude, like throughout the World Cup, no goal contributions at all, 0. And again, like he's not started this one, of course, with a goal contribution as well. Go back to Euro 2020, 0 goal contributions again for Bernardo Silva. And
but
yeah, I think there's a story.
Is he the top 3 wingers now, Rishi? After what Dembele has done for France over Silva?
No, I think the top 3 pretty much we had discussed already. I don't think
I was saying how Dembele has done nothing, but Silva top right now. You just call him the world's best winger right now.
That's not from a numbers perspective. Whenever I see him at least playing for City, like okay, maybe for Portugal he has not been great, but whenever he plays for City now, especially without Gundogan's presence, I feel that team really needs him playing for the City team to function. I think more than that, just his on-field intelligence just supersedes everything for me, at least.
Yeah, but I think with the numbers, it's very hard to make a case for him, at least from like a Portugal perspective. I think Bernardo Silva, the player, is lovely to watch and he's a great player. But I think for Portugal, unfortunately, it doesn't. For whatever reason, I don't know if it's a Ronaldo thing or whatever, or the system doesn't suit him. But again, I haven't seen that much of Portugal to comment on it. So let's just leave Bernardo Silva at that. Are there any other names? Because it looks like we're already sorted with Musiala, Saka, and Lamine Yamal. Anyone else that you can think of? Somebody, I don't know, Chiesa. I'm just throwing him.
I mean, see, before actually we go towards other wingers, I just want to say the reason why Bernardo Silva doesn't perform well in international, competitions, etc., is because of the spaces. In City's platform, you have everyone close to you. It's easier for you to perform. But when you go to the international space, you see how wide he is and how alone he is. That's where your actual talent takes in place, how you can actually dribble past players and create chances. And that's why,
that's fair.
I think that can be said for a lot
not in his game.
City players, that can be said for Foden also.
Yeah. No, but I think Bernardo Silva has never been that player who you trust to dribble past a defender. Unfortunately.
Fair enough.
That's my point. Just putting it out. Anyways,
Hmm.
apart from that,
Kvaratskhelia, where does he stand?
Kvaratskhelia, bro, he's a good talent. I can't lie saying he's not a good talent. But again, you want to talk about top three wingers. Again, this season he's had a very poor season. Napoli finished 8th with him. And one more thing is, again, he's a kind of player. I don't think in the highest level of competitions he will be a good winger or a great winger. He's playing in a league of Serie A where it's very slow, and that's why he shows a bit more of his skills and ability as a winger, because that league itself is very slow. You can play in your own pace, etc. But again, you saw against Turkey also, he struggled a lot. Like, he was not like he had a great performance. There were other players in the Georgian team who were actually showing up, for them. So in terms of that, Kvaratskhelia, again, for me, it's more like he's not been tested enough over the years to even put him in the top wingers, because he's only had one season, first of all, in the so-called top 5 leagues in Serie A. Even though he won it, it's also a factor of consistency over time, right? So it's the same thing. Like, if he can be consistent over his career and also maybe play in a tougher league, then, or at least in the highest competitions like your UCLs, even the Spanish league for that matter. And if he can perform, then we can take him for sure, because he is a great talent, and I think he has those skill sets and attribute of a winger to go towards that area, but not at the moment.
Okay. I really can't think of too many others. It's probably I'm just going to throw in a couple more names: Javi Simons, Nico Williams. Any of them would cut it for you?
I feel you can mention someone like Arda Güler also. He scored a brilliant goal. He started off as a right winger, so he plays more of 10 for Real Madrid in his loan club, but he started off as a winger. What can I do?
Okay, fair enough.
It's nowhere close to being a winger.
And then, bro, my guy Yilmaz, bro, you can't.
Bro, he's literally playing as a centre forward.
He started as a striker the whole game, bro. I don't know what game you watched. The whole game, I'm seeing him on the right. I'm seeing him beating Kerkesh left, right, centre.
Who was Turkey's right wing if Yilmaz played, right?
Huh?
Who was Turkey's right wing if Yilmaz played?
Güler was cutting in. What can I do? He was playing.
So who was the right winger now? Who is Yilmaz right winger or is Güler right winger? Choose one.
Bro, no, you guys cannot diss my Yilmaz so badly, bro. So, bro, the way he was just beating the guy. Maybe it was Kerkesh not being able to handle him. Maybe another fullback or left back can deal with him better. But this guy was just beating him. Like, as far as a winger's job goes, like, beat your man, put the ball in, or beat your man and, like, lay off a pass. This guy was doing it left, right, center. So fair enough. If he goes, plays more centrally next games, then fine. But otherwise, you guys will come back to apologize to me, man.
We'll see. But I think overall we've dropped a few names, guys. But I think there's a unanimous consensus that it is Musiala, it is Saka, and it is Lamine Yamal, and in the top 3. Please let us know your.
Once again, so where does Wirtz stand in this?
Bro, Wirtz is not an out-and-out winger. Like, I can't see him as an out-and-out winger. But the same.
But he still counts as wide forward almost.
True, but when I say Musiala, he's got the pace and he's got the skill to beat defenders. I think that's a big part of being a winger if you are deployed out wide. I think Wirtz is slightly most
of his Bundesliga season this season he's played centrally, Musiala, and he's been much more effective when he's dribbling in the tight spaces in front of the box, basically.
I think my point is Musiala can do it out wide as well. Like, it wouldn't be a problem for me. Like, I would have no issues with him playing either position. But I think Wirtz, I would still like to have him a little more centrally. So that's it.
Adi?
About what?
Wirtz?
Yeah, that's the thing with Wirtz. And see, Musiala plays more of winger position for Bayern also, because he's been the left winger this season a lot compared to before, because again they have had injury issues, etc. And as Rahul said, like, the skill sets of him, he can play at least as a wide forward, if not completely as a winger, right? So you can still see him play. It's the same thing as Foden. Like, they play a bit wide, but they also drop in between the lines and in the middle also. So he's that kind of player who can be flexible, and he plays in 2 teams. Like, You look at Germany and you look at Bayern, they're very similar in terms of the way they play, in terms of the system. You know, both of the team have their wingers for wide, but they also come very inside and, you know, let the. To be fair, if you're talking about Germany wingers, it's their fullback who plays as a winger. So
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
in that sense, it's going to naturally come inside anyway. So even Bayern is almost the same thing. So in that sense, I think both of them are central players. But again, Musiala generally is more natural to play both positions. But if you're talking about Words, I don't think he can just play as a pure left winger. If you were given a occasion or a game where you want him to play. So in that sense, like even with me, Words is more of a central player. If not, you know, fully central, he's like a number 8. He plays in between the lines a lot, like similar to KDB, right? So in terms of position, so same thing with me. Like I would always put like consider at least Musiala as a left winger. Even in this Euros, he's played a bit of left wing a lot. You know, Musiala, and
Yeah.
even though he drifts in, he's played as a winger, and he's also played 2 beautiful games. So, you know, you can't take that away.
Fab.
Yep. With that, guys, everybody watching, let us know who you think your top 3 Euro wide players are. If you have differences in opinion, yeah, of course, share it with us. We'll take a look. Yilmaz is not going to be there, I'm so sure. But yeah, thanks Adi, thanks Rishi for joining. Guys, please do like and share these videos, subscribe to Sports Kabaddi. We'll see you next time. See you.